burnt coffee, and tired dreams. Lisa stood at the far end, the walls closing in like a noose tightening around her. Margaret Reeves, tall, manicured, and merciless, clicked her pen against the table, a slow, taunting rhythm that dug into Lisa's chest. The entire executive team sat around her, pretending they weren't enjoying this, pretending they weren't waiting for the spectacle. Margaret leaned back, folded her arms, and smiled, the kind of smile people gave when they thought they had finally won. "Lisa," she said, voice syrupy sweet, fake concern dripping from every word, "after 11 years, I think it's time we admit it. You're simply not a fit for our culture anymore." The words sliced through the heavy air like knives. Lisa didn't move. She didn't blink. She listened.
Calm. Steady.
Because she knew something none of them knew. Margaret slid a single piece of paper toward her across the table, her termination notice, as if granting her a favor. "Take some time to process this," Margaret added with a cruel little shrug. "It's not personal. We just need more agile, more progressive talent moving forward. You understand." Behind her, a few co-workers exchanged smirks. Lisa caught it from the corner of her eye, Tom from finance stifling a laugh, Claire from HR whispering something under her breath. Lisa slowly reached for the paper, fingertips brushing it gently, as if it was a relic of a life she no longer needed. She stood up, smoothed her skirt, lifted her chin, and smiled. A real smile. The kind that comes not from defeat, but from knowing something powerful is coming. "Thank you," she said simply. Her voice didn't waver. It filled the room with a quiet, confident finality. And then she turned, walked out. No theatrics, no begging, no tears, just grace, and the sound of stunned silence following her footsteps. Outside the building, the cold January wind bit at her cheeks, but she welcomed it. It made her feel alive again. She pulled her phone from her coat pocket and dialed a number she had memorized long ago. 1 ring.
2.
"Hey, beautiful." A deep voice answered, warm enough to melt the ice from her heart. "You can finalize it," Lisa said, smiling up at the gray sky. "They fired me today." A low, amused chuckle rumbled through the phone. "Took them long enough," he said. "The paperwork's ready. By tomorrow evening, you'll be the majority owner of Reeves Enterprises." Lisa closed her eyes, letting the cold wind rush over her, clearing away the last bits of bitterness. "I don't want revenge," she whispered. "I want something better." "You'll have it," he promised. "I'll be right beside you." That night, Lisa sat by the fire at home, wrapped in a soft blanket, sipping tea, watching the logs crackle and break apart. Her husband, Daniel, the man she had met on the worst day of her life 10 years ago, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and smiled at her the way no one else ever had, like she was precious, unstoppable, unbreakable. "You don't have to be cruel to win, Lisa," he said gently, as if reading her mind. She nodded. "I know," she said. "I just have to lead better than they ever did." The next morning, while Margaret Reeves strutted into her glass-walled office, bragging about finally cleaning house, Lisa's legal team was already delivering the buyout documents to the board. Her lawyer, Mr. Calhoun, smiled politely as he handed over the folder. "Effective immediately," he said, adjusting his tie, "ownership of Reeves Enterprises has been transferred to Mrs. Lisa Carter. She's your new majority shareholder." Margaret laughed at first, an awkward, barking sound, until she looked at the paper, until she saw the signatures, until the blood drained from her face like someone had pulled the ground out from under her. Lisa didn't walk back into that office with a smirk. She didn't gloat. She walked in 2 days later with a calm smile, dressed not to intimidate but to inspire, a soft blue dress, hair pinned back, pearl earrings. Elegant, serene, unshakable. The executives who had laughed now avoided her eyes. Margaret tried to force a smile, hands trembling as she stood up. "Lisa," she croaked. "Congratulations, this is unexpected." Lisa walked slowly around the room, running her fingers along the edge of the table where she'd once stood, humiliated. Then she turned, facing them all with a quiet strength that made the whole room fall dead silent. I believe in loyalty, Lisa said. Her voice didn't need to rise. It wrapped around them like a warm, unbreakable chain. I believe in hard work. I believe in treating people right. Starting today, this company will, too. Somewhere near the back, Tom from finance swallowed hard, his face pale. Claire from HR dropped her pen. Margaret opened her mouth to protest, but Lisa held up one gentle hand. No need to be afraid, she said.
Kind. Calm.
Powerful. Good people will have nothing to fear. The air inside Reeves Enterprises had shifted. You could feel it in the way people straightened their backs when Lisa passed. You could hear it in the softened footsteps down the once intimidating marble hallways. It wasn't fear. It wasn't awe. It was something deeper, hope. Lisa spent her first 2 days not behind a closed-door office but walking the floors listening. To the intern stacking papers in the copy room. To the janitor mopping the floors no one thanked him for. To the customer service reps eating lunch in their cubicles because their old manager discouraged breaks. She listened. She made notes. She remembered every face. Every name. In the shadows, Margaret watched from her office window, fists clenched. Every word Lisa spoke, every smile she gave, drove a deeper crack into Margaret's brittle pride. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She's playing a game, Margaret hissed to Tom from finance, who hovered nearby like a loyal dog. She's making you all like her. She'll cut you loose the second you let your guard down. But even Tom wasn't so sure anymore. He remembered laughing at Lisa during that meeting. He remembered how she thanked them when she could have spat in their faces. He remembered the calm, devastating dignity she carried as she walked away. And now he wondered if maybe he had been laughing at the wrong person all along. By Friday afternoon, Lisa gathered the entire company for a small announcement in the main hall. Everyone expected another dry meeting, another speech full of buzzwords. Instead, Lisa stood at the front with nothing but a microphone. No fancy banners, no flashy lights. Just her. She smiled warmly. Today, she began, we're starting something new. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Margaret leaned against a pillar, arms crossed, ready to scoff. Lisa continued, her voice clear as a bell. No more working through lunch breaks. No more pretending unpaid overtime is loyalty. No more silencing the people who actually build this company every day. Her eyes swept the room, locking with faces stunned into silence. We're going to lead differently. We're going to care differently. And every one of you will have a voice in it. Dead silence. And then a single, hesitant clap. Then another. And another. Until the room erupted into real, heartfelt applause that shook the walls. Even some of the senior managers, the ones too scared to breathe a month ago, found themselves smiling for the first time in years. Later that evening, Lisa sat in her new office, simple, welcoming, a small vase of fresh flowers on the desk instead of the sterile glass trophies Margaret used to hoard. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city's skyline outside her window. Daniel walked in quietly, carrying a takeaway coffee from her favorite little corner cafe, the one she used to cry outside of when her boss belittled her. Big day, he said, handing her the cup. She took it with a grateful smile, fingers brushing his. I didn't think they'd trust me so fast, she admitted, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. You didn't earn it today, he said, brushing a kiss to her forehead. You earned it over 11 years of staying kind when you had every reason not to. Lisa swallowed hard, emotion threatening to crack her voice. But she nodded. He was right. Meanwhile, Margaret was unraveling. She still had her title, technically, but her influence crumbled day by day. Her whispered attempts to sabotage Lisa's policies, her petty complaints to the board, her fake smiles, they were paper weapons against a woman who didn't believe in war. Lisa simply led better.
Kinder.
Stronger. Smarter. Margaret called an emergency meeting with a few allies, the remnants of her old regime. They sat in a dimly lit lounge after hours, plotting how to expose Lisa, how to take back what they believed was stolen from them. But what Margaret didn't realize was simple. Lisa wasn't playing their game. She was rewriting the rules. On Monday morning, Lisa posted a handwritten letter in the main lobby. No corporate logos. No fancy marketing. Just her words. To anyone who's ever felt invisible here, you're seen. To anyone who's ever felt small, you're valued. To anyone who's ever been told you don't belong, you do. Starting today, we build something better together. Underneath, she signed it, Lisa Carter, CEO. Employees gathered around it for hours, taking pictures, sharing it online, tears in some of their eyes. It went viral within 2 days. And somewhere deep inside Reeves Enterprises, a quiet revolution was blooming. The days grew colder, but inside the company, something warm was finally taking root. Lisa could feel it every morning. Real smiles instead of forced ones, employees greeting each other like they mattered. The company wasn't just surviving. It was breathing again. But Margaret wasn't finished. And when people like Margaret feel powerless, they get dangerous. It started small. A few emails accidentally leaked. Anonymous complaints filed about Lisa's lack of experience leading a company. Rumors whispered in corners, seated carefully by Margaret's few remaining loyalists. Lisa noticed. Of course she noticed. But she didn't lash out. She didn't fire anyone. Instead, she invited everyone, even Margaret, to a company-wide open forum. She stood in front of hundreds of employees, no podium, no armor, just herself. I'm not perfect, she said, looking straight into their eyes. And I don't expect you to be either. But we are stronger when we trust each other. I trust you. I hope you'll trust me, too. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a plea. It was an invitation. Margaret, standing in the back, arms folded so tight her knuckles whitened, felt the room slip even further from her grasp. Because Lisa wasn't giving them anger. She was giving them respect. And people don't betray someone who makes them feel seen. Still, Margaret had one final move. One desperate, last-ditch move. The following Thursday, during a senior staff meeting, Margaret stood up with a smug little smile and slapped down a printed stack of supposed evidence, falsified numbers, fake complaints, twisted timelines, all designed to make Lisa look like she had manipulated her way into ownership. The room went dead silent. Lisa, sitting calmly, didn't even blink. Instead, she quietly flipped through the pages, page after page, while Margaret smirked, sure this was the end. When Lisa finally looked up, her voice was calm, almost sad. You went through so much effort, she said softly. You could have used all this energy to build something better with us. Margaret's smirk faltered. Lisa stood up, facing the room. No one's perfect, she said again. But lying to tear someone down, that's a choice. And it's not the kind of choice this company will reward anymore.
She didn't yell.
She didn't humiliate Margaret. She just set the papers down gently and said, you're free to resign, or stay and rebuild yourself alongside us. But you will be held accountable for the truth either way. Margaret's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. But no words came, because Lisa had given her something she wasn't prepared for. A second chance. By the end of the week, Margaret quietly cleaned out her office. No grand showdown. No cruel headlines. Just the quiet, simple truth winning one kind act at a time. And Lisa? She didn't celebrate Margaret's exit. She celebrated the people who stayed. The ones who believed in something better. Months passed, and Reeves Enterprises was transforming in ways no one had expected. Profits were climbing, but more importantly, people were smiling again. Employees who had once felt invisible were now pitching ideas, leading projects, mentoring others. It wasn't just a company anymore. It was a community. And Lisa? She walked the halls every morning, coffee in hand, greeting everyone by name. Not out of obligation, but because she genuinely cared. One rainy Wednesday afternoon, as Lisa was reviewing a proposal in her office, her assistant, Kara, rushed in. There's someone here to see you, she said, a little breathless. She doesn't have an appointment, but she insisted. Said you'd know why. Lisa frowned slightly, but nodded. Send her in. A woman entered, older, frail, but with fierce determination in her eyes. It took Lisa a moment, And then she remembered. It was the janitor's wife. The janitor who had been working quietly for years, unseen, unthanked, until Lisa made sure everyone saw him. The woman pressed a small, battered envelope into Lisa's hand. "My husband passed last night," she whispered, voice trembling. "But before he left, he asked me to give you this." Lisa's heart squeezed painfully as she opened the envelope. Inside was a simple note, handwritten. "You made me feel human again. Thank you." Tears blurred Lisa's vision. She stood up, walked around the desk, and wrapped the woman in a hug without a word. In that moment, all the boardroom battles, the fake smiles, the betrayals, none of it mattered. This was why she fought so hard. For people like him. For moments like this. A few weeks later, Rees Enterprises launched a scholarship fund in his name for children of support staff who wanted to chase bigger dreams. Lisa didn't put her name on it. She didn't want the credit.
It was never about that.
The employees rallied around the cause, raising thousands in the first week. News outlets picked up the story, but even as interviews flooded in, Lisa stayed humble. She always redirected the attention back to the people who made everything possible. Not herself. Never herself. And on a warm Saturday morning, standing under a banner that read, "Building a Better Future Together," Lisa looked around at the laughing children, the proud parents, the hopeful young faces, and realized something simple, something powerful. Winning doesn't have to mean crushing someone else. Sometimes, real victory is just building something beautiful where others tried to break you. The first anniversary of Lisa's leadership arrived faster than anyone could believe. What once was a crumbling, cold corporation was now thriving, alive with ideas, passion, and real connection. And Lisa, standing at the heart of it, had become more than a CEO. She had become a symbol of how you could rise without stepping on others. A symbol that kindness wasn't weakness, it was strength. The board organized a company-wide gala to celebrate the turnaround. Hundreds of employees, families, and partners filled the grand hall. Laughter echoed. Old walls, the kind you couldn't see but could always feel, had been torn down and replaced with something honest. Lisa moved through the room gracefully, exchanging hugs, warm smiles, grateful handshakes. There was no stiff VIP section. No guarded stairs. Everyone belonged. Midway through the evening, as the music softened and the lights dimmed, a surprise unfolded. Kara, her loyal assistant, climbed onto the stage, holding a small plaque. Clearing her throat, she said, "This wasn't part of the official agenda. But there's someone here tonight who changed all of our lives. Someone who reminded us that leadership isn't about power. It's about people." She turned, smiling through tears. "And Lisa Carter, tonight we honor you, not just for saving this company, but for saving its soul." The applause that followed was deafening.
Real. Raw.
Grateful. Lisa froze for a second, heart pounding against her ribs, not used to the spotlight she never chased. Daniel, standing at the back of the room, gave her a small, proud nod. Their eyes met. Everything they had fought through, every silent hurt, every tear, every betrayal, it was all worth it. Lisa stepped up to the microphone, voice shaking slightly. I don't even know what to say," she laughed softly, blinking away tears. She took a deep breath, looking out at all the faces she now knew so well. "I was fired in this very company once," she said, voice growing stronger. "Called a failure. Told I didn't belong." You could hear a pin drop. But here's the thing, nobody gets to decide your worth. Not a cruel boss. Not a broken system. You decide it. She smiled, warm and wide. And when you finally know who you are, no one can take that away from you. Later that night, standing on the balcony overlooking the glittering city, Daniel slid his arm around her waist. "You didn't just survive them," he said quietly. "You outgrew them." Lisa rested her head against his shoulder, breathing in the cool night air. "No hate," she whispered. "No bitterness. Just growth." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "That's the best revenge there is." Lisa closed her eyes, feeling the truth of it settle deep inside her chest.